Oh man, I need to stop doing that. I was gonna say something I'm getting used to. How do I turn that off? I need to turn off that feature when you swipe the camera switches. Oh. Hello. Looking well. Looking slow. You're wavy. Good gravy. Pretty well. Man, I got a little headache. I'll drink some water. Make music, by the way. Wait. I wrote a poetry book, by the way. The link in the description. If you want to check that out. It's 40 love poems. It's 40 love poems. It's called The Many Shades of Flowers. And I greatly appreciate anyone who checks it out. It's $1. And the link is in the description. Really appreciate anybody who checks it out. Thank you and thank you. Thank you, man. I just watched a breakdown for the lightsaber fight in The Acolyte episode 5. Someone broke down why it's not good, and I was like, There's just certain details that normal viewers such as myself wouldn't notice, but when that person broke it down, I was like, damn, I need to up my game, because I was not considering it. He was just talking about how none of the strikes, because it's a sword fight, lightsabers. They're like little laser swords. You're saying like if you slow it down and watch, none of the strikes were on target. It was clearly just for show. Because in a real fight, it would be so stupid because you'd be missing all the time, and there were so many openings for all the combatants in that scene. Like with the villain, he left himself open so many times. The people that were fighting him left himself. The Jedi that were fighting him left themselves open so many times. It was and it's like for people who are paying attention. It breaks immersion because you'd be like that person should be dead like 20 times by now, like because they're supposed to be trained, like highly skilled combatants, and yet they're making like the most rookie mistakes ever, leaving themselves open so many times, not paying attention, just making stupid decisions in the heat of the moment. Like those were not the moves of a professional. And just comparing it to like the fights between Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're saying that fight was so much better. Like the fight choreographer for that fight knew what he was doing, whereas whoever choreographed the fight for the Acolyte episode 5 was clearly overpaid, because when you watch someone break it down, it's actually genuinely terrible. Like you're like, actually, he's right. Like he just shows all the openings. Something like something simple, like they want to block your sword, right? So you put your sword here. You block your sword like this, but the sword is like somewhere here. So instead of aiming for their head, which is wide open, you aim for the sword, which doesn't make any sense. If you see that, so if you want to block a sword that's coming towards your head like that, you lift the sword up like this so that it clashes with your sword, right? But instead they left the sword like somewhere here to block, and you just leave your head wide open. So things like that, things like turning your back all the way, like just turning your back to your opponent. Like your back should be cut wide open if you do that, but they'll never take the opening. There's so many openings that were never taken. Stupid things as well, like there was one hilarious observation he made where, so the villain, everyone's calling him Smilo Ren because he's got like the Kylo Ren head helmet, but it's like got this weird smile on it. Anyway, Smilo Ren left himself wide open, like he's wide open, right? And one of the characters had the lightsaber in her hand, and instead of just stabbing him, he was wide open. She had the lightsaber in her hand. Instead of stabbing him, she kicked him. She could have killed him right there and then, but she kicked him. And this other guy did the exact same thing to Smilo Ren. He was wide open, and instead of stabbing him, he kicked him. It's not like they were like in a weird position and they couldn't get the sword in. Like they were wide open. Oh, by the way, I guess an important thing to remember. Yeah, actually, you can't aim for his head. You can't aim for his helmet because his helmet deactivates lightsabers. So I guess that's a valid excuse. We can't aim for the head because his helmet literally deactivates the lightsaber, so they can't aim for his head. But besides the openings he left on his head, he left so many openings on his body, so he left so the head openings are probably like the least of all the openings. That was probably they probably have the smallest amount, because he left his body open so many times. And even if you just leave his openings, the openings the Jedi left for him were ridiculous. He could have killed them multiple times over and he didn't. And again, he's supposed to be this highly skilled combatant, and yet he's making these dumb mistakes. So yeah, it's just interesting, man. You don't really think about these things, but it's the little things, it's the little details that matter. This is what determines whether your art will age well or not. Because people will scrutinize your art over time, and it has to hold up under scrutiny. That's why it's important to invest in the little details. You can't just make it flashy and nice. Because if it doesn't hold up under scrutiny, eventually people will be like, yeah, this is trash. That's why you have a lot of art that's nice in the moment. People celebrate in the moment, but then over time, people don't care as much. Versus art that, at the time, people might be like, hey this, hey that, like complaining and criticizing, but then over time, people start to appreciate it. We're seeing that with the prequels. The Star Wars prequels, people hated them at the time for a while. Well, me personally, I watched them, I enjoyed them, I thought they were very entertaining. But I'm seeing a lot of people giving them credit these days. Hey, the prequels are actually quite good. They've survived the test of time. People still go back and watch them. I never understood why people hated them so much. I'm sure there's little things that they can point out that they find to be wrong with the prequels. But me personally, I thought they were very entertaining and cool. But yeah, I haven't seen the original trilogy, by the way, which I know it's terrible. But yeah, one day I'll watch the original trilogy. Yesterday I posted something about how, the earth isn't overpopulated like people say it is, and there's more than enough resources to go around. And it always baffles me, the way people go out of their way to kind of argue in the opposite direction. It's like people don't want the earth to be abundant. They don't want solutions to certain problems. They don't want progress. Like, wherever you go on the internet or even in real life, whatever the case may be, and you have these discussions, it just seems like people are invested in this extinctionist theory, you know, this anti-human sentiment where humans are a blight on the earth, they're cancer, and we need to get rid of them. We need to depopulate the human species, which is like, it's genuinely concerning, the amount of people that hold that view. They view humans as parasites on the earth. But to have that view of people is ridiculous. I can't imagine looking at another person thinking that person is a parasite. Like, it's such a I don't know how you get to that point where you start thinking about people that way. I really don't understand. Is it the education system? Indoctrination? I don't know. But it's genuinely concerning. But yeah, like, I was making the argument. Okay, so I pointed out 3 things: desalination, food abundance, and the abundance of space. So, desalination is basically when you take water from the sea, remove the salt to make it drinkable. And it requires some desalination plants, like plant as in like basically like a factory almost, a facility where they do this thing. It requires very sophisticated machinery, but it's happening, and it's been happening for a while. And it's one of the main sources of people's drinking water in several countries. A 2019 research papers from 2019 from multiple universities like Yale, Stanford, so on and so forth, they said around 300 million, upwards of 300 million people have access to desalinated water, right? They're getting water from these plants. That was 2019. I'm sure the numbers have increased significantly since then. And it's just a viable method. It's proven to work. And we know that with any technology, over time, it gets more efficient, more cheap. If you think about this device I'm filming with right now, this smartphone, if you think about the history of the phone, phones used to be these massive devices that only the wealthy had access to. Over time, they got smaller and more efficient, more features, and more affordable. Now, smartphones are accessible to anyone. Even the poorest amongst us can own smartphones, and it's a great equalizer because it gives you access to the internet, which allows you to do business and all sorts of things like that. I'm making money off of this very small device. Before then, I was using this device, which is a lot more affordable than what I'm using now. This is like this cost less than half of what this cost. Think about that. This cost less than half of what this cost. This device I'm using now cost more than double than this. Yet I made a ton of money on this. A ton of money, relatively speaking, for me as a young person who's making money online. So you think about how these innovations make life easier for everyone, and they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper over time. So, you know, these desalination plants, the technology that runs them, they're just gonna get more efficient, more affordable over time. The process will become cheaper, and then billions and billions of people will have access to water from the Earth's oceans. You'll have an infinite source of water. You'll never run out of water, ever. But people seem to be against that for some reason. Like, they keep trying to point out problems and faults. Like, instead of like coming up with solutions, investing in solutions that can help speed up the adoption of this technology. You see the same thing with nuclear energy. There are active nuclear plants in several countries that are not being used. It's too expensive. It's like these countries will invest so much money in other areas except nuclear energy. It's unbelievable. You think about America and all the places it throws its money. Google this. You can pause and Google this right now if you want. America invests in Egyptian tourism. You'll find out that America invests upwards of $100 million in Egyptian tourism. Why? Why? It's another country. You don't need to invest in their tourism. It's such a superfluous expenditure of funds. It doesn't make sense. It's obviously a money laundering scheme, right? They're laundering money. That money is not going towards Egyptian tourism. At some point along the way to Egypt, someone puts it in their pocket, or a group of people put it in their pocket. I'm telling you. Maybe some of it gets to Egypt. But it's like, imagine this is coming from taxpayers, by the way. Imagine as an American taxpayer, your money is going towards tourism in Egypt. Why don't you take that $100 million+ and invest it in nuclear energy research, the development of these plants? I was reading about how there's so many research initiatives where they're experimenting on animals, on dogs, like terrible things, where they're killing these animals, and it'll be such ridiculous, stupid things that you just question, like, are these people insane? Let me try find some of it. Because honestly, it's genuinely insane. Let me pause and try find some. Okay, here, so I've got a list. This is by Dr. Rand Paul. It's called the Festivus Report 2023. He just listed, so he's a government official. He listed all the ways the American government is wasting taxpayer money. Maybe not all the ways, but some of the ways. And in the summary, he said they spent $900 billion that was just wasted on these ridiculous initiatives. So let's go through some of them. So Dr. Fauci's monkey business, $33.2 million to run the NIH's Monkey Island. What's known to South Carolina locals as Monkey Island is Dr. Fauci's 3,000 monkey colony raised on a state-owned island. The National Institutes of Health signed a $33.2 million contract with a local business to house, feed, and care for these monkeys before they're shipped to research labs around the country. The federal government established the colony in the late 1970s through the multi-million-dollar contract to care for the monkeys changed hands a few times. NIH also paid millions to a large pharmaceutical company to maintain Dr. Fauci's Monkey Island. Monkey business is a big business. And then Egyptian tourism. It says the U.S. has spent over $100 million on Egyptian tourism so far. What's next? Rebuilding the pyramids? Apparently Congress and the agencies it funds think our treasury is a bottomless pit. So yeah, again, I don't know why anyone thought this was a good idea. Anyway, so there's no exact amount of funds. He didn't say how much money was spent here, but this sounds so ridiculous, so I'll read it. It says the USDA is cutting edge research. Walking hot dogs. When you walk outside in the summer, you get hot. When Labrador retrievers are walked outside in the summer, they also get hot. Getting hot while walking outside in the heat might be obvious to you, but the United States Department of Agriculture allocated cutting-edge research funding to support a summer study that walked 16 dogs of 2 different colors and measured their rectal temperatures. Rectal meaning their ass. How hot is their ass, their asshole? So they walked 2 dogs of different colors, right? and wanted to see if them being different colors would affect how hot they get, and they measured the temperatures of their assholes. This is what taxpayer money is going towards. Researchers found the Labrador's fur color did not affect their body temperatures after a hot summer's walk. That's it. That's the taxpayer-funded cutting-edge study. The Agricultural Research Service at the USDA, which funded the study at Southern Illinois University, gets $1.7 billion a year from Congress, but it's unknown how much the hot dog study cost the taxpayer. Perhaps taxpayers should have Congress put USDA on a tighter fiscal leash. This is why, people talk about the Republicans' evil Project 2025 plan, and they call it Project 2025, make it sound so sinister. It's very simple. Cut government spending. Abolish some of these useless agencies. What the hell is the USDA doing? I'm sure it's bloated. They've got too many people. Therefore, they need to give these people things to do because they've got nothing else to do. So they're walking hot dogs of two different colors. These Labradors. So in this case, with this agency, reduce its size, or get rid of it entirely if they're not doing anything useful. It's like they make this Project 2025 thing. I hate the name. They make it sound so sinister. They make it sound so evil and weird. It's like, look at what these people are doing with your money. Like, yeah, you need to get rid of some of these organizations. They are so useless. So then you've got the Department of Homeland Security training employees to be their authentic and best selves. So this is a training program paid for by taxpayers to train employees to be their authentic and best selves. I don't want to read all that nonsense. Russian cats on a treadmill study funded by part of a $2.7 million NIH grant. After having their brainstems snipped, Russian cats were forced to walk on a treadmill in Russian labs. This is all thanks to US taxpayers footing the bill. Russian scientists funded with your money posted videos of their catwalk studies, which showed shaved cats hooked up to electrodes and struggling to walk on a treadmill. These catwalks were part of a $2.7 million National Institutes of Health grant given to a researcher at the Georgia Institute of Technology in the US. The institute then subgranted the funds to researchers in St. Petersburg, Russia, a fact first uncovered by White Coat Waste Project in 2021. So $2.7 million of taxpayer money. A large chunk of that went to funding this research where they made cats walk on a treadmill. First, they shaved the cats and made them walk on a treadmill. It's unclear why they did this, and I don't know what information they gathered from this. Again, it just sounds like animal torture. It just sounds like they're just torturing these animals. They're shaving them, making them walk on treadmills. Why? Like, why? And why is so much money being used? And why is it being done in Russia? You as a taxpayer, right? If you knew this is where your money was going, would you be happy with that? Again, why not take this money and invest it in nuclear energy research? I'm sure they'd be very far along by now. But there's a lack of willingness, right? Invest this money into developing these desalination plants. Hello? You're literally turning ocean water into fresh water that can be drank and used for all sorts of things. But instead, you're taking money and spending it on Russian cats walking on treadmills, Egyptian tourism, some monkey island, training employees to be their best authentic selves. It's genuinely unbelievable, dude. They spent $8,395 on a lobster tank. The Department of Defense purchased a lobster tank from a restaurant equipment company in Springfield, Virginia. I understand military personnel need to eat, but does the DoD really need a lobster tank? I think we can all agree these aren't the tanks Americans thought their tax dollars were funding. The Department of Defense, they usually handle like military equipment and stuff like that. But they're taking part of their budget and buying lobster tanks. Again, the evil Project 2025 plan. Oh my God, they're so sinister, these evil Republicans. When you see shit like this, if you get into the system, right, you're someone that's running the government, you're the president, Trump, he said he wants to drain the swamp, which just means gutting a lot of these organizations, if not abolishing them entirely. If you walk in and you see this nonsense going on, all the nonsense these people are spending money on, the way they're wasting time and taxpayer funds, are you also not going to be like, we need to end this? We need to end this party right now. That's what someone with common sense would do. You wouldn't let this carry on. You'd be like, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. In fact, all of you are fired. That's what someone with common sense would do. They wasted $89 million worth of engines. Basically, they left a bunch of engines out in the sun and they got spoiled, so $89 million went to waste. I'm just scrolling through. There's a bunch of things they're wasting money on. They were spending money on graphic novels. They were during at the height of COVID, there were these disinformation campaigns, so they were printing comic books. They were literally spending money to print comic books, telling people about, you know, the corona disinformation, yada yada yada. Taxpayer money, by the way. NIH's meth head monkeys. Let's read what this is about. National Institutes of Health funded researchers at the University of Mississippi Medical Center gave lab monkeys meth in the morning and tracked the monkeys' sleep habits through implanted wire leads running through subcutaneously from the head incision to the eye orbit, exiting the eye orbit from underneath the upper eyelid. Like, this is just torture. This is torturing animals. The study was funded by portions of 4 NIH grants and brought to my attention by the White Coat Waste Project. Over 100,000 Americans die of meth overdoses each year as these dangerous drugs pour across our open borders. Our nation's first responders and families across the country struggle every day to fight this drug epidemic, and yet NIH approved a portion of approximately $12 million in NIH grants to test the sleep habits of monkeys given meth in the morning. It sounds like the NIH needs to go, or at the very least reduced in size significantly, like cut a lot of their funding. Because why are they spending $12 million on this? They clearly have too much money. They don't know what to do with it, so they're giving meth to monkeys and running tubes through their eyes. Again, this money can be given towards developing these desalination plants, developing nuclear energy, closing the border, so on and so forth. And yet they're spending money on this bullshit. Again with the monkeys, NIH's monkey casino, gambling for drinking water, oh my god. 2 laboratory monkeys at the University of Minnesota faced high stakes as their access to drinking water hung in the balance, contingent upon their willingness to embrace what researchers termed gambling. To study the region of the brain that impacts risk-taking choices, parts of monkeys' skulls were removed and their brains were injected with tracers and monitored as they gambled between 2 different options presented to them on 2 screens. Test subjects were given a low-risk, low-reward choice and a high-risk, high-reward option, with the monkeys choosing risk over reward more than 70% of the time, because they're monkeys. The study, funded under an NIH National Institute of Mental Health $1.9 million grant and an NIH National Institute of Drug Abuse $1.8 million grant. The study gambled that this monkey study was a good use of taxpayer funds. I'm not a gambling man, but I'd bet with confidence that the American taxpayers disagree. They spent, I'd say, upwards of $3 million on this ridiculous exercise. Gambling monkeys. What were they trying to find out from? I'm trying to understand what the point of this was. They cut open parts of the skull and inserted what? Injected with tracers and monitored as they gambled between 2 different options presented to them on 2 screens. So monkeys, they chose risk over reward more than 70% of the time. Okay, and then they chose risk over reward more than 70% of the time. The monkeys. They're monkeys. Like, why do they need to spend millions of dollars to find this out? I could tell you for free. You can come to me and ask me, does a monkey make good decisions pertaining to risk and reward? Probably not. Will the monkey choose instant gratification or long-term gratification? It's a monkey. It'll probably choose instant gratification, but it's a monkey. Why are they spending this much money on experimenting on monkeys? Yeah, the NIH, they're dodgy. Oh my God. Here we go. Dr. Fauci's $477,121 transgender monkey study. Under Dr. Fauci, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases was back in the business of wasting your money and torturing animals. This time, instead of tormenting puppies with ravenous sandflies, a Florida lab is trying to feminize male monkeys. That's right. The NIAID is using $477,121 of your tax dollars to fund the forced feminization of male rhesus macaques. I guess that's the species. Utilizing taxpayer funds from NIAID, a Florida lab set out to examine what would happen if female hormones were given to male monkeys. After receiving the hormones, biopsies from the forced feminized male monkeys were tested to see if they were more susceptible to HIV. Right, guys? Like, what the hell? This is so weird. The lab works to make male lab monkeys transgender to address social injustices suffered by transgender persons, such as transgender women individuals who are assigned a male set at birth but express their gender along a female spectrum. What? So they did this to address social injustices? How? What does this do? How? This is a waste of money. Critics note that monkeys themselves are not susceptible to HIV and argue injecting the male monkeys with female hormones is unlikely to yield relevant information or to help humans. Yo. Duh. Bro. During the pandemic, these were the experts they said we should trust. These were the experts. Trust the experts, listen to the experts. These were the experts. And people fell for it. These are the experts. Transgender monkey study. This is torture. They're just torturing animals. More gambling monies. They spent $171,000 on another study on making monkeys gamble. Anyway, that was a long tangent. I said all that to say all that money that they're spending on all these weird studies and quote-unquote studies, all that money could be going towards real research initiatives, but instead they're torturing animals. There was one case, the Small Business Administration was giving money to so it says Business Insider identified dozens of famous music artists and their touring companies that received over $200 million through the program. So it was the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant program, which was supposed to provide a lifeline to small entertainment businesses nationwide. So let's go through who these small entertainment businesses were. Post Malone, he got $10 million from this grant. The rapper Common got $2.8 million. Smashing Pumpkins got $8.6 million. Steve Aoki got $9.9 million. Usher got $3.1 million. Vampire Weekend got $8.3 million. Lil Wayne got $8.9 million. Chris Brown got $10 million. Sorry, $10 million. Korn got $5.3 million. There are a bunch of others that were getting money from this grant. So I guess they applied for this grant and they got checks. Upwards of $10 million. Post Malone, Lil Wayne, Steve Aoki, Chris Brown, a big name. They're already rich. They're rich beyond imagination. They're getting life-changing money for nothing, for free, from taxpayers. That's your money. That's your money. They just took it. Think about all the places this money could have gone. So I can already tell you, the Small Business Administration, it sounds like such a useless organization that you can just get rid of that, because clearly they're not doing their job. And when I say get rid of it, right, some of these jobs can be done by other departments of government. You don't need an entirely separate department to do these things. You don't need to dedicate an entire department to it. I'm sure there are other departments of government that can handle the task of assisting small businesses. Because this is what happens when your government gets too big and gets too bloated. You get shit like this. Like, what the hell? So that's Project 2025 for you. The big sinister Project 2025. Man. Anywho. So I don't want to hear it from people that say like, things like desalination aren't possible, nuclear energy isn't possible. No, it is 100% possible if you invest in research. It's already happening and it's already effective. It's already working. It can work better if you just invest in it. But instead we're investing in all sorts of nonsense like what I listed. Unbelievable. And then I'm not going to spend too much time on the other two aspects I talked about, but food abundance. How much food does the world waste every year? How much food is wasted every year? $2.5 billion tons. Human beings waste 2.5 billion tons of food every year. Why are people starving when that's the case? It means it's bad resource management. So it's not like we have a lack of food. We have more than enough food. We're wasting 2.5 billion tons of it every year. So stop the cap. We're not running out of food. We're not running out of water. We're not running out of space. The next thing I want to talk about is the Texas theory, which is that you can fit the entire human population in the state of Texas. People did the math and they said you could literally, if you just packed everyone together, you could fit them within the state of Texas, and they'd have space. Each person would have like space for themselves. And now the criticism of that is, yeah, but then you have to consider farms to grow food, roads, so on and so forth, right? Because these people, they lack imagination. They lack imagination. And again, they invested in the extinctionist theory. So these are people that always come up with problems and they never come up with solutions. They don't think in the direction of positivity. They always think in the direction of negativity, because they invested in this notion of human beings being parasites and we need to get rid of them. Someone who's thinking, right? Someone who's using their brain. They'll say, oh wait, we build vertically all the time. We build vertically. You can have several large apartment complexes, very tall, hundreds of meters in the air. That reduces the surface area that we're occupying for living space. And you can also increase this the surface area each person occupies by themselves if you build vertically, because now everyone's not so packed together. Now it's like you can build upwards. You can even build within the ground. You can even build underground, guys. That's a thing. I don't know if you know that, but people can build underground. So you can build towards the sky and you can build underneath the ground as well. So that opens up so many opportunities. So now you have more space to work with, more space to farm, more space to build roads, more space to build stores, so on and so forth. It's not going to be the most comfortable arrangement if you have 8 billion people living in Texas. It will definitely not be comfortable. But this is a hypothetical scenario. We're trying to show you that the earth is very, very abundant in space. And if anyone is saying we're running out of space, it's because you're just terrible at resource management. And you should not be running anything. You should not be allowed to give advice on anything because you will lead us in the wrong direction. You have to be creative, and you have to utilize all your brain capacity to really solve this problem. Elon Musk has this company called the Boring Company. They dig tunnels underneath the ground and they create roads underneath the ground for cars to move. This exists right now. You can Google Elon Musk Boring Company. I think they have tunnels in Vegas and maybe a few other places that are functioning as we speak. You can visit these places right now and drive your car in them right now. He can dig these tunnels in Texas. Wait, I'm sure he might already have tunnels in Texas. Boring Company, Texas. Is it? Let me see. Tunnels. Where are the tunnels? So wait, let me just tell you the benefits of some of these tunnels. It's weatherproof, so rain, snow, wind, and surface temperatures do not affect system operation. It's invisible. Tunnel construction does not impact traffic patterns or create any discernible surface noise or vibration. It's expandable. Tunnels can be extended and new levels added as additional capacity is required. It's safe. A tunnel is one of the safest places to be during an earthquake. Tunnels protect against falling debris and have been used to transport rescue personnel. It's fast. Tunnels are sealed from the elements, making them suitable for low-pressure use with Hyperloop high-speed transportation. Let me read about construction. Once a tunnel boring machine has reached its operating depth of 2 tunnel diameters, tunneling causes less noise and vibration at the surface than a pedestrian. Think about that. It causes less noise and vibration at the surface than a pedestrian. Most utilities are located within 10 feet of the surface. Our tunnels are typically more than 30 feet below the surface, where underground space is currently unused. Our tunnels are typically more than 30 feet below the surface, where underground space is currently unused. To make the most of excavated dirt, we are developing a way to reuse dirt for bricks and pavers for use in anything from affordable housing to patios to the pyramids, a famous recent example of dirt-based construction. Like, where is it? I think it's just in Vegas for now, because I'm not seeing anything about yeah, it's just in Vegas for now, it seems. But in the event that Elon Musk, the world needs you, I'm sure he could do it in Texas as well. So you could build tunnels underneath the ground for further transportation. And so now you've got roads above ground, you've got tunnels beneath the ground. So we're increasing mobility, we're increasing capacity. So now we're building underneath the ground, we're building above the ground, so human beings can take up as much space as possible. And obviously we're using some of the space for farmland, we're using some of that space for I don't know what else we'll use it for. And like, this is someone who's trying to come up with solutions and not just pointing out problems and whatnot. I think it could work. I think it could definitely work. And yeah. So and that's just Texas. The point I'm trying to make is that's just Texas. Obviously, the world is much, 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 much bigger than Texas. So this idea that we're running out of space, we're running out of food, running out of water, these are people that are invested in the destruction of humanity. I'm telling you, they're just naysayers. They're just negative people who are very sinister as well. But I don't understand why you refuse to be optimistic. You refuse to search for solutions. I wish you invested as much time and energy into finding solutions as opposed to finding problems. The world would be a better place. And here's the thing that really scares me, right? It bothers me. It's sad and it's disgusting and it's kind of evil. It's not kind of evil. It's very evil, actually. People are dying because of these climate change initiatives, these green mandates. So, for example, they'll say fossil fuels are bad. We're banning fossil fuels, without paying any mind to the consequences of that. There are a lot of people who depend on fossil fuels to heat their homes, to cook their food, so on and so forth. In the UK, because of these carbon taxes, energy has become very, very expensive. So energy meaning coal, gas, so on and so forth. So that drives up the price of your electric bills, for example, or your gas bills. It makes gas very expensive. It makes electricity very expensive. So 10,000 people, upwards of 10,000 people in the UK die every year from insufficiently heated homes. So they die from cold in their homes because they can't pay their bills. They can't pay their electric bills. They can't pay their gas bills. So they can't heat their homes. So every year, 10,000 people die from cold in their homes. That's a fact. You can look it up. I read 3 articles talking about this. There's way more than that. This is happening. This is literally happening. In the UK alone, just from cold, people are dying. 10,000 people every year because these people are saying fossil fuels are terrible, So they're willing to sacrifice people's lives for that. I'm like, there has to be another way. This can't be the only way. And this is the thing that scares me, right? There'll be people that say, oh, it's just the necessary cost. It's just collateral. We have to do it because it is what it is. So they're literally saying we must sacrifice these poor people on the altar of climate alarmism, right? Why do they have to be the ones to die? Why can't you sacrifice your own life? Why does it have to be them? These people don't care. They don't care. They'll sacrifice people now for some hypothetical future scenario. And by the way, by these climate organizations' own admission, we're nowhere near hitting these climate targets we're supposed to hit. They say we're supposed to reduce our carbon footprint to this point by this year, or else we're screwed, yada, yada, yada. By their own admission, we're nowhere near reaching that goal. So they've killed all these people. For what? We're still not going to get there anyway. Like, it's genuinely evil. And these people claim to be compassionate. We're doing it for the future generations. Blah, blah, blah. We're trying to save. So they're trying to save some future generations by killing people now. And it's yielding terrible results. We're still nowhere near hitting those targets. And they don't care. That's the thing. Even people listening to this now will say, oh, well, yeah, we killed tens of thousands of people we've killed tens of thousands of people in the UK alone. I'm just talking about the UK. I'm not even talking about elsewhere. If we're talking about the whole world, millions of people have been pushed below the poverty line because of these green mandates. I'll give you an example. They'll tell farmers, you're not allowed to use normal tractors that use diesel. You're supposed to use electric tractors, which makes no sense. Electric tractors are very expensive and they're less efficient. They cover less mileage. And they're very expensive to maintain. So what that does is it bankrupts farmers. It makes life harder. In carbon taxes, so they'll say there's too much methane that in the in the excrement of cows. So when they take a dump, there's too much methane which goes into the air and pollutes the air, whatever. So they're saying cows are too polluting as well. So they're saying cows are. So maybe they'll say reduce the amount of cows you have on your farm. Maybe they'll say the food you're giving to your cows is too toxic. Yeah, it's not good for the environment, so on and so forth. So they just make life harder and more expensive for these farmers. That's why you're seeing all these farmer protests. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that, but so many farmers around the world, India, in parts of Europe, the UK, so on and so forth, have been protesting because of these ridiculous climate mandates that are making life so expensive and hard. And millions of people around the world have been pushed below the poverty line. I'm not making that up. You can Google it. Because of these mandates, we're making people poorer. In many cases, we're killing people. When winter hits in certain parts of the world, it hits hard. It's so cold. And when people can't afford to pay their electric bills, or they can't afford to pay their gas bills, like we just discussed with the UK, they die. But these climate activists don't care about that. They're willing to sacrifice all these people for some hypothetical scenario in the future. It's not worth it. There has to be another way. I believe in human innovation. I believe we'll find a way around these issues if we just invest. Like I was talking about with America, the amount of money they waste on this stupid shit. Why not invest in nuclear energy? That will solve so many problems. We can move away from coal. We can move away from all these toxic resources that we're using to generate heat and energy. But they spend money on transgender monkeys. Bro, I don't understand it. There has to be another way. They're killing so many people, making so many people suffer in the name of environmentalism. It's not worth it. There has to be another way. There has to be. So, yeah. I'm tired of these climate activists. I'm tired of these environmentalists. These are not good people that care about people and yada, 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 yada. They're frauds. And we need to keep an eye on them because I feel like there's some anti-human agenda going on there. These people can't be reasoned with. You point out that people are literally dying. And they say, so? It is what it is. You need to do what you need to do. Why am I putting Vaseline now when the video is almost over? I should have put Vaseline at the beginning of the video. Oh well. For my own comfort. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bro. Let me know what you think in the comments. Pissed. You know, at the end of all my videos, dear Father God, thank you for this individual watching this right now. Thank you for making them whole, unique, and guiding them on a path towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing these people with wonderful people who love them, take care of them, bring the absolute best out of them, and maintaining the ones that are there to do the same thing. Thank you for blessing this person with love and marriage and sustaining that love and marriage and making very, very, very happy. Thank you for blessing this person with a spirit of gratitude so that they can give thanks for all the wonderful things in life, and by giving thanks they can find peace, contentment, and attract even more blessings. Let your presence be felt in this person's life so they know that you're God, that you're real, that you're loving, and you're always going to be there for them. Good health, long life, and happiness over this person, everyone they care about. In your mind, I may pray. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen, 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 amen.